Blood is nothing!
Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that needs to issue a correction. Yay. So last week I reported that updates were coming to the Guild Finder and to World of Warcraft communities, you know, that tool. This is after I triple checked that even the release candidates for patch 8.2.5 had this feature, so I was going to talk about this like it was an undocumented change. In fact, it's still there on the PTR, complete with searching for a guild, searching for a community, remote invites, remote accepting of invites, linking the guild invites directly to chat, which you really don't want to do, but I'm sure people will do it anyway. In my opinion, these were some much needed upgrades that could empower those who are trying to develop long-term connections with players. I was absolutely sure that it was coming, and I was wrong. It is not in patch 8.2.5, at least I think. But because it's there on the PTR, I will at least speculate that all it takes for Blizzard to do is to just hit the switch and boom, the feature will be activated. You might recall in the 8.0 pre-patch, the new community feature caused a whole bunch of problems, so Blizzard managed to just turn the whole thing off, at least temporarily. My hope is that the feature is in fact in the patch, and Blizzard just has to turn everything on once they have the kinks worked out in the background. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's give thanks. Thanks to the regulars, to the new visitors, and to the sponsors who have helped keep this beautiful channel going. A few new sponsors have showed up, including Andy and Bob Jr. Bob, are you messing with me again?
Well, I have bared many children.
I doubt he's your child.
Okay, then his parents must have excellent taste in the names.
Alrighty, so let's get right to it. First, some WoW classic news. It's been out for a month. Hey. Okay, so classic news hype, it's really died down. I mean, come on, it's the same old song with, hey, we opened up realms, we're doing new transfers, let's react to that, and so on. The next exciting thing that's going to happen in Classic is going to be when Phase 2 begins, when layering is shut off. Certain realms are going to echo the same complaints magnified by many times. Players are going to be clutching their pearls in surprise. Oh my god, Bethany, our realm queues are enormous.
Gee, Solafina, maybe we shouldn't have stuck around. It's way too crowded.
Oh, but Bethany, we're trying to preserve our precious community.
Yes, because spamming LF tank for the past 40 minutes has been great fun. This is dumb.
I know, you gotta excuse my lack of energy, and you know what? I'm not all that energetic in the first place. Hello Internet, Soul here, and welcome back to another Warcraft Weekly, Soul and Bob's wondrous wisdom show. Dude, I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap, I swear. But I am truly, genuinely happy about the release of WoW Classic. I'm like wiggling a little bit. Ooh, you know, there are plenty of people playing. It's just not as many as launch day, you know, and it's not going to be the 12 to 48 hour binges that we've been seeing. I'm sure that's slowed down, and far fewer people are watching WoW on Twitch. So Classic fans, if you came here for Classic news, that is pretty much all I've got. I'm about through with that for this week, because frankly, I couldn't care less about some third-party companies saying, hey, WoW Classic brought in a ton of money. Ooh, it really doesn't take an analyst to kind of figure that out. The most important metric, whether you're playing WoW or Classic or whatever the heck game, is whether you, person on the toilet or not, are having fun. So rise up and game on, Classic fans, while I get to my WoW dystopia. Before we get on with the current news, let me warn you right now that this week's weekly is going to be downright full of spoilers, and will mostly be brushing on the aftermath of what is now being officially called the Fourth War.
Oh, so 15 years of wars later, now we have a fourth war.
I'm pretty sure they're counting it as like the fourth faction war.
Well, the third war was Azeroth against the Legion.
Okay.
So if we're counting that, technically Legion should be the fourth war, and Biffa is the fifth war.
Okay.
Unless you count the War of Thorns, even though it kicked off the thing.
You know, maybe they mean the fourth war, like going forth into adventure.
Oh, that makes sense.
Patch 825 launched this week with the promise that the war campaign would end with Sylvanas absolutely nuking Gromash Hellscream, but not before Garrosh saves him and Saurfang makes a confession.
My mind's telling me no.
Hey, it was less distasteful than last week's joke. One more time of the warning, spoilers are ahead. Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah?
I'm interested in the fan fiction you did just now.
No, 825 is bringing to us a massive amount of content to digest. It was like minutes of gameplay. Minutes. After slugging it through this protracted war campaign, I was surprised at how quickly this was paced, to be perfectly honest. You talk to someone, cinematic. Do a few quests, cinematic. And then done. Faster than killing a rebel leader.
Dang.
Was I too fast? Per tradition, I did a reaction video on it. And per tradition, I forgot to say whether I even liked the cinematics or not. I did. I liked it, not because I was surprised. I liked it not because I had a Sylvanas monologue with full expedition as to what the heck she's been doing the whole time, because there wasn't. I liked it not because there were meme-worth moments. Okay, I stand corrected. It was because the final cinematics were final. It covered the end of the Horde and Alliance aggression. Nice cape, by the way, Anduin. Arthas. Okay, never mind, Anduin. The conclusion gave the Horde an out, thanks to Sylvanas convincingly separating herself from her own faction, as well as her own people, the Forsaken. Like, come on, you don't make a pose like this and say, woohoo, we're fighting for honor, boys. The war ended with as little bloodshed as possible, and the players loved it.
This is Game of Thrones Season 8 bad levels of writing.
MORALLYGREY.
None of that makes sense.
The most broken-ass lore I've ever seen.
My queen dethroned on a f***ing cutscene, die one for this.
Anyone else confused as to what the f*** just happened? Only me? So this is the What of the Week, where I try to challenge cynicism and succeed mostly at getting plenty of downvotes in the attempt. Seriously, I can go on all day trying to defend the writing in BFA, but I won't. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I'm not here to change your mind, but I do want to quickly address two small things, but I'm more than happy to discuss more of this stuff in the comments below or over in our Discord channel. I want to talk about one, Sylvanas' descent into total villainy, and two, how'd she get so badass anyway? Like, boom, like that was some anime level stuff. Oh no, her spirit pressure, it's pushing me down. Sylvanas Windrunner, after becoming a woke banshee, was never gonna be like a bad girl who does good things. Her motivations have always been very clear. Pretty much 100%, she has always served herself, while whatever actions that might seem selfless were really only exceptions to ensure that she was always on the right path. Like, you know, her path. It started with revenge against Arthas and building up a whole freaking kingdom to make sure that happened. And after that was done, it came down to resisting death and oblivion after she's seen it. And what better way to resist death than to, I don't know, I guess, get ahead of it, to master it. Going down that path absolutely means eventually abandoning everyone who gets in your way. This isn't like, hey, you know, I think this business is really going to take off, and the family's like, no, dude, it's a pyramid scheme, and you're like, no way, man, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to be my own boss. What is only slightly surprising is that she's abandoning her own Forsaken, supposedly these kindred spirits who should understand her pain and loss. But my guess to that is pretty simple. Sylvanas just values herself more than her own people. It's a safe assumption. I mean, consider that she calls herself a queen. Sylvanas might have recovered her body after being freed from Arthas' control, but her mind never healed. Real-world human trauma is very real. Damn it, I hate it when I do that. Considering what the Forsaken as a whole have gone through, and that Sylvanas has died multiple times, it would be a little bit unfair for anybody, let alone a person on a YouTube forum or whatnot, to go up to someone who dealt with this massive mental trauma like that and expect them to be a goody-goody. Anyone who says that they understand Sylvanas and expect more out of her is probably just lying to themselves. Or they're a banshee. And if so, then maybe they should see a doctor about that. Next week, I'm really going to get into what Sylvanas' departure from the Horde means for the Forsaken. At this point, the Forsaken have lost their home, their leader, and means to grow. They're like an endangered species or a dying race.
Well, they're undead, so technically...
Shut up. On a shorter note, how did Sylvanas just totally whoop Saurfang's ass early on in their duel? Well, if you didn't notice, she did have mysterious, shadowy death powers at her disposal. She knew this, and Saurfang didn't, and knowing is half the battle. And is it really all that much of a surprise that crazy strength was part of the package? But anyway, I get it. Not everyone loved the cinematic. As I completed the final questline and quickly switched back to Classic to enjoy a real experience of spending more than half a level on one freaking quest, there's another critique coming from fans, and I'm gonna sum it up to this question. Is it okay that the Horde and Alliance are just going to suddenly get along and that within the Horde everyone just reconciles and ta-da, like nothing ever happened? Because we've seen that time and time again after every major conflict where the factions must band together to fight the greater evil, the big bad, the true enemy. Well, now that they're defeated, alright boys, let's get back to killing each other again. I admit that it leaves the idea of faction conflict feeling oh so forced and contrived. We already have it set in our heads that once the next Lich Wing or Ghoul Jaden is defeated, who else do we turn to but each other immediately after? One of my biggest critiques about the evolving world of Azeroth is that too little of it reacts to changes. To be fair, it'd be a bit much if I were to expect, hey, how are the Timbermaw going to react to the defeat of Cahoon, but more often than not, the story of Warcraft only feels connected within like this small bubble around you, the immediate surroundings. This is still true now, but at least in 825, it feels a little bit different, a little bit more grand and involved. We're not getting a parade to celebrate the end of the war. I mean, the Horde gets a funeral. Among members of the Alliance, not just famous heroes, but regular people throughout cities, they're reacting to the end of the war. Meanwhile, the Horde has so much more to do within reconciliation among their own people. Blood Knights patrol the streets to ensure order. Loyalists are being rounded up and questioned. The relationships between family members with different political ideologies struggle to rebuild bonds. A while back, I predicted at some point, whether it was a patch or an expansion, that the war would definitively end, but it would leave the factions in a poor state. And here we are. It's less bloody than it could have been thanks to Saurfang's gambit, but the current state of the Horde and Alliance is dire at best. And at this point, everyone knows about the threat of N'Zoth. The factions are weakened, doubt and disbelief are spreading, questions are being asked. Why did Sylvanas abandon us? Why aren't we finishing off the Horde? Where's Tyrande and Malfurion? And meanwhile, an old hero stands on a bridge observing the nation that he helped create. It's from here that we start to observe the shift away from the battle for Azeroth, as in the faction war, and towards the battle for Azeroth, as in the fight to protect what's left of this wounded world. We get a call from Magni and off to adventure. We're now trying to help Ebonhorn from the corruption of N'Zoth. And speaking of N'Zoth, with it now free, surely its influence on Deathwing's babies has gotten that much stronger. Long story short though, we seek out help from Rathian because Kalgos said, hey, this is a great idea. We don't find the Black Dragon Prince, but apparently he's smarter than everyone and left something for us to help Ebonhorn. He's saved. Woohoo. But the stage for the final act of BFA is starting to come together in this patch. At any moment, N'Zoth could rise from the deep, bringing with it the remnants of the Black Empire. Or maybe it can slowly corrupt the weak-willed minds of all of those who've been suffering throughout this long war. There are a ton of questions left unanswered. I doubt I'm going to have time to produce videos for like every single one, but I'm going to try to bring up a few right now. How N'Zoth will finally reveal itself is just one of them. For one, where is Tyrande and Malfurion? Because you would think that they would show up for an event like this, knowing that this would be a good chance to get at Sylvanas. It could be that something even more important was going on, or that they were predisposed with something else, like maybe Tyrande just trying to survive being the Night Warrior. Where is Sylvanas and Nathanos? We last see them over in the Ghostlands, but they're parting ways. According to their tone, they expect to never see each other again. Sylvanas clearly has plans. Heck, she even had plans to lose and get communication out to the Horde champion so that you can meet her, and then here we go with this cutscene. But what part does Nathanos still have to play? Going back to Sylvanas though, where does she get that super awesome one-shot death ray magic? Did it have something to do with the Black Blade of the Empire? Was it actually empty, or did N'Zoth leave some hidden gift? And speaking of the Black Blade, where is Xal'atath? And also, is Helya, is she going to be a thing at all? Vol'jin has been MIA for a while, like how is the investigation into himself going? And as I mentioned earlier, I think this is the topic that interests me the most right now. What is going to happen with the remaining Forsaken? In the cutscene, we finally get our first in-game glance at Kalia Menethil after she was raised by the Naru, and Horde players report this to Lillian Vaz, who, at least after Sylvanas and Nathanos, I think she's like the highest ranking Forsaken among her people. Upon learning this information, Lillian says that she must act quickly. Okay, to do what? Is it to install Kalia as a potential leader of the Forsaken? Is it to assassinate her to prevent that from happening? Is it to help Kalia create a neutral faction where Forsaken that really don't feel like fighting, that they can simply live out their remaining life or unlife? It's no joke, folks, there is a lot to speculate on just that. So stay tuned next week for my thoughts on that, and where I try to cover any number of topics. And that's the show. This week felt pretty dang exhausting, even if there wasn't a whole lot to do in game. But I'm really digging the activity in Orgrimmar right now. It feels like a different city. The air is tense and spirits are definitely down. The war's over, but there weren't any clear winners. There were just victims. As always, after seeing stuff like this, I am stoked to see what happened next, but like I said, there's just so much to digest, and there's so many different paths that the story can take at this point. One thing does seem pretty clear: Sylvanas is in our future. The source of her newfound strength is going to be something that we'll confront in probably the next expansion. It's hard to doubt that, but will it be the Shadowlands? Like, will we go there? Or will the Shadowlands come to us?
Hey, stop with the questions already.
I can't help it, dude. There's like just so much going on in WoW now. It feels overwhelming, but okay, we're trying to wrap up. Speaking of all these questions though, I actually am done, but I asked all of you at home and on the toilet to send me questions that I'm going to attempt to ask at this year's BlizzCon. I'm going to be asking for your help every week up until the convention, so keep them coming. To help you along, we'll bring up a certain topic to focus on. So this week, for example, 825 just came out. Lots of story and lore reveals. Story is going to be this week's theme. What story questions do you have for the WoW team? I have no idea if I'm going to get a chance to speak with someone from the writing team, but if I do, I want to be able to cram them with all sorts of tough questions before they kick me out. So type away with those questions and I'll set them aside. Next week, I'm going to almost enthusiastically cover the possible future of the Forsaken, and I'm going to do some more design talk if I can squeeze it in. So here's a preview. If we were to add elemental resistance back into the game, would that effectively solve the problem of cross-contents gear? You know, the whole relationship of PvP gear being used in raids and dungeons and, vice versa. I hope to have a cool discussion on that along with other design topics as we get closer to BlizzCon to see if the next expansion happens to deliver on maybe some of our ideas. Player housing. So I hope to see all of you folks next week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. See you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.